What's happening, everybody? I am what you need. You're watching my channel right now, and we're going to stream right now this series of videos on. This stream is going to be on, as you can see from the topic, Terrence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather, both being undefeated champions. Also about Benavidez versus Canelo, and well, that's interesting. As I move, wow, that is interesting. As I move, the camera moves. Well, that's weird. Camera's kind of tracking me. It's very unusual. Camera's still tracking me. That's weird. Anyways, right here, a fan, subscriber, asked me to do a video on Floyd Mayweather and Crawford both being undefeated champions, and also asked me what I think about David Benavidez and Canelo, a fight between them, who would win and why. Okay, so a fan actually asked me to do this video. So we're going to do it. But in addition, we're going to do a number of other things. So I'm gonna answer you. The person is Cam5914. So Cam5914, you asked me this question, so I will present an answer to you. And but the format that we're going to do something like this. We're going to start off with scripture, okay? And then we're going to look at Spence versus Crawford. We'll look at Crawford's approach. We'll look at Spence's approach. We'll then look at Derek James' instructions. We'll talk about the rematch. We'll talk about Mayweather versus Diego Corrales, because this fight reminds us of that fight, how dominant it was and everything. Hold on a second here. Okay. Yes. Benavidez, and we'll also talk about Charlo versus Canelo. So we're going to talk about quite a lot of things in this short space of time. But before we do that, let me start off with a piece of scripture. So for Cam5914, this is for you, brother. We're doing this stream here. Off your request, we're going to get it popping. All right. I'm what you need. For those of you who don't know, if you want to pop on here and chop it up with me, and not just in the chat, but you want to actually talk to me face to face, you come up on the stream, you can do so. The link is in the chat section that you're seeing right there. Goodness. So let's get down to business. We're going to first start off with scripture. So let's get to the scripture, all right? The scripture comes from John chapter 15, and it's verses 18 and onwards, okay? It's about the world's hatred to individuals who speak the truth. When the world hates you, remember, it hated me before it hated you. The world will love you if you belong to it, but you don't. I chose you to come out of the world, so it hates you. Do you remember what I told you? A servant is not greater than his master. Since they persecuted me, they naturally will persecute you. And if they listen to me, they will listen to you. The people of the world hate me, for they don't know God who sent me. They would not be guilty if they had not come and spoke, if I hadn't come and spoken to them. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Anyone who hates me hates my Father. If I hadn't done such miraculous signs among them, no one else could do, they would not be counted guilty. But as it is, they saw all that I did, and yet they hate both of us, me and my Father. This has been fulfilled what the scripture said. They hated me without a cause. I will send you the counselor, the Spirit of truth. He will come to you from the Father and tell you all about me. And you must also tell others about me because you've been with me from the beginning. All right. So let me break this down real quick. This is about, without saying things about Jesus Christ per se, this is about truth. In life, if you're somebody who speaks the truth, people sometimes get uncomfortable with that. And they're going to hate you just for speaking the truth. And they're going to try to get rid of you. They're going to try to muzzle you whatever way, by whatever means. What you have to do is continue to speak the truth. Because that's what Jesus did. They killed him for it. And he never did anything wrong. In fact, he did only good. And they killed him for it. And this is just the way life is. So when you aspire to do good things, when you aspire to motivate people, when you aspire to do things which will benefit people, remember, in the process of doing that, you will have to be truthful. And in being truthful, people are going to hate you for exposing certain dark places in their lives that they feel you are shining light on. All right, let's keep it going. So, I haven't shared this video with the rest of people out there, but I will. But before we begin the stream on Crawford being undefeated, and I'm going to use particularly Spence versus Crawford because that's his coming out party. Spence versus Crawford he's now going to become a pay-per-view star. Crawford's going to become a pay-per-view star for this. Not to mention he made history. So many good things happened. And Spence versus Crawford was Crawford's coming out party. The other coming out party, when you talk about Mayweather as an undefeated champion, was Mayweather versus Diego Corrales. Most people say Mayweather versus Arturo Gatti because Arturo Gatti was on pay-per-view. So Mayweather's first pay-per-view coming out party was Mayweather versus Gatti. But I want to talk about Mayweather versus Diego Corrales for two reasons. One, Mayweather was actually still in his prime. Two, Diego Corrales was undefeated. He was undefeated. Diego Corrales was smashing everybody, you know, just like how Errol Spence was. So in that regard, I want to talk about it. The only difference is Mayweather never rematched Diego Corrales. In this case, we're going to have a rematch between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Okay. Okay, so the live is going on right now. So Floyd and Crawford as undefeated champions and more is my title. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to share this on Facebook right now. Okay. The stream's not bad at all, by the way. So that's kind of cool. We're 8 minutes in already. Oh, time is just speeding away on us. If you want to join as a guest, once again, the link is up in the top there for you to join. All right, I'm going to share this for a minute here. I'm going to share it on Twitter. No, I'm going to share this on Facebook. No boxing groups. Got two birds outside there fluttering all over the place. So I'm almost finished sharing this. Okay, I think I covered everybody. All right. So let's get into this, which is what you guys probably want to. You guys probably want to do. All right, let's get into it. So there we go. Spence versus Crawford. Good. Spence versus Crawford basically was a fight in which one fighter was pressuring the other, and basically the other was counterpunching the other fighter to death. That's what's basically going on. Okay. Was a one-sided fight. Okay, it was one-sided, a spectacular performance by Terence Crawford. And I'm just going to explain to you what Terence Crawford's approach was in that fight. And I'll do it showing you footage of the fight, the actual fight. Okay, so I'm going to show you Terence Crawford's approach to the fight. Okay. Maybe I should. Okay, hold on a second. And I'm actually going to show you actual footage of the fight, and I'll explain to you what he was doing while we're watching footage of the fight. Okay? So, thankfully, I have a phone here. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to actually look at the actual fight now. In the actual arena. I'm going to show you what Terence Bud Crawford was doing in that fight. Let me see now. Let me run this back a bit so I can get to round one. Okay. Okay, so here we're looking at the fight from a fan's perspective, okay, that are coming out here. I think it's a feel out round. Hold on a second. Just make sure I have it. Nope. Oh, okay. Let's see if I can get it with better resolution here. I think it should be able to get it with better resolution. Hold on a second. No. What? I had one with better resolution. Where is it? Yeah, this is probably it. Yep. Wonderful. Okay, so I got the fight with better resolution. We're 14 minutes in. All right. That's terrific. That's terrific. All right. So when you look here, there you go. That's perfect, right? Only problem is I don't think this camera. Zoom in. What's up with you, man? Come on, man. Give me sharp resolution. We got a little problem. All right, let's get to the actual fight here. All right, here we go. And in the ring, you see Errol in the black and white stripe, Terrence Crawford in the black. So Errol's popping his jab, but notice Crawford is circling him, watching him, keeping the high guard, stepping around him. He's circling Errol Spence. Errol Spence is standing in front of him, pivoting, yes, but he's not circling him. Crawford's having a good look at him. Inching in a little bit, keeping that high guard up. Just pops his jab right there. Errol's popping his jab. Errol's feinting as if he's coming in. They're both feinting as if they're coming in. Errol pops his jab again. Errol's popping his jab. Errol pops the jab to the bottom, and he snaps out. Nice and fresh, looking good. Crawford's gauging him, trying to find the distance and just blocking off the punches. Now what? I just want to freeze this right here if I can. All right. What you have to understand is Crawford is stepping around. He's circling Errol Spence Jr. He's watching him, and he's picking off shots, but he's also gauging how far away Errol Spence is by just picking off the shot as well, right? He's not, you've seen Canelo do this over and over, circle an opponent, but he's staying on the outside. He's trying to find range. Crawford's also trying to time Errol Spence. Okay, let's keep it going. There we go. So he's timing him at the same time as well. All right, let's see. There you go, Errol, double jabs coming in the inside. Notice Crawford is trying to pick him off with a jab on the outside. But notice Crawford is staying to the outside of Errol's jabbing hand because that's the weak side. Okay? Crawford circling to Errol's weak side. I'm sorry, circling to Errol's power hand. But if he's pulling back to the outside of Errol's jab. He's keeping good distance as well. Not just pulling straight back. He's pulling back at an angle. Errol's pivoting around, pivoted a little bit. Errol's pivoting again. Crawford gets to the body. Now I'm going to explain something to you guys. Crawford uses whatever tools are available to him to optimize his position. One thing you'll notice about Crawford is he's staying on the outside of Errol, circling Errol. So Crawford is outside the pocket, and he's trying to find the distance where he can touch Errol and Errol can't touch him. So he's taking his time. He's taking his time. Both guys are composed, but he's taking his time, and he's finding the range. Okay? In the battle of the jabs here, Errol's throwing jabs to find range, right? That's not what Crawford's doing. He is circling Errol, stepping around him, and he is staying outside of the pocket. Now, why this is important to understand is because he has a longer reach, and it's going to become a major factor in this fight. I'm going to also stress on a couple of things, but I want to show you, first of all, his approach, what he's doing. So in the beginning of the fight, from the very beginning of the fight, Crawford is keeping outside the pocket, circling Errol Spence, just outside the pocket. He's trying to find where he can throw shots. But the first thing he did wasn't throw a shot. Kept his defense tight. Kept his defense tight and was trying to read Errol Spence's offense and his defense. So he got high guard up, hands up high, and he's watching to see what Errol's doing. So he's paying attention. Okay? This is what Terrence Crawford did. He paid attention to what's happening. I'm going to show you guys. We continue the round, but I want you to see He starts now throwing his jab, the fine range and stuff like that. He's trying to throw his jab in between Errol Spence's shots. Okay. So you see, Errol's throwing a lot of jabs. Crawford will step back, but he's not just stepping back. Y'all guys got to understand what he's doing. See? See which direction he circles when he's stepping back? He's stepping back at an angle to the outside of Errol Spence. By the way, I think we missed something. I want to show you it again. The Errol's now stalking him. But notice where Terrence is. He's to the outside of Errol's jab. So he's countered him there. Errol rode it, but he countered it. He countered him because he was to the outside of Errol's jab. Let me explain something to you guys so you will understand. So I'm a southpaw, so this is very easy for me to understand. Okay. I'm going to just I'm going to stay on the ground, so I'm on my knees, but it doesn't matter, okay? But all you care about is my upper butt at this point in time, even though everything in boxing, everything has to do with the feet, okay? I'm in the southpaw stance. When you are boxing, Terrence Crawford circled, like how in an orthodox fighter, they would circle the opposite way. Terrence Crawford is circling to Errol Spence's power hand, my backhand. Okay, my backhand. This is my lead hand here. Okay. Now, let me get straight with you. So I'm here. He keeps his hands up tight. So he's keeping his defense very tight. He can pick off shots left, right. And he's watching through his defense right here. He's watching his opponent. He's watching everything his opponent is doing. Terrence Crawford is watching every movement, everything that Errol's doing. He's using his feet. He's using his feet. If Errol advances, Terrence Crawford will step back, but he doesn't step straight back like this. Okay? He's going to step back, but he's going to step back at an angle. And the angle he's going to step back, I'm going to explain it to you like this. This here is my jabbing hand, right? I'm a southpaw. So this is my jabbing hand. Okay, I'm going to keep it a little low so it doesn't mess up the camera. I want you to see I'm jabbing, I'm jabbing, I'm jabbing, right? This is my jabbing hand. And what you got to understand, when I throw a jab here, here is exposed. Okay? Because I got to get my hand back up in place so I don't get hit here. Okay? Now, anything on this side, this side of the jab is called the weak side. The reason being, if I get myself and my body into position, let's say you throw the jab here and I slip the jab, my head slips the jab, and I pivot back this way, you can't hit me with your right hand and you can't hit me with the jabbing hand unless you circle and face me. You pivot and you face me. If you don't pivot and face me, everything's free reign. I can hit you here and you can't hit me. Okay? With boxing, you can come straight down the center, toe to toe with your opponent, battle with them, jabbing with them. I'm trying to get the jabbing hand right about here, right? And you can jab with me. Okay? That's cool. Or you can go back door. If I throw my jab here, you slip and you come over here. And you can get me until I pivot and I turn with you. But you have to be in position to do that. If I throw my straight left here, you can roll under or slip to the outside here. And again, I can't jab you, nor can I hit you once I'm out here. So you can take advantage of me here. It's called stepping around your opponent and then landing your shots. And it's very subtle. For you, once again, To take away that angle, you must pivot. You must pivot like this. You take away that angle. Okay? So, jab, and I pivot here, I take away the angle. I throw my lead left, right? And I pivot, let me see, which way? I pivot this way, sorry. If I pivot, let me see. Hold on a second. Jab, pivot this way because you're coming at me here, weak side. So if I throw this and you're coming at me weak side over here, I want to close off that angle. So I come this way, right? Okay. No, I come this way. So that's a T angle. Yeah. Okay. So you get me. I have to close it off this way because I can catch you with this. Right? All right. So by and large, what I'm saying is one simple movement, one simple pivot can take away an attack on the weak side. But you have to be able to pivot fast enough with your opponent. Lomachenko does it. Many fighters do it. All right, Timothy Bradley versus Brandon Rios. And in this fight, Terence Crawford does it a lot. But he does it by pulling back. He actually bait Errol Spence. The first knockdown was a bait and counter. Okay? And it was a unique thing because he threw his lead left and then he came up with a jab after that knocked down Errol Spence. But it's because Terence Crawford can fight both ways. But basically what Terence Crawford was doing was he was making Errol commit. Errol would reach and then he would counter him. But it had to do with his foot placement. He was never really directly in front of Errol when he's catching him with these shots. He's usually off to the weak side of it. Errol, by overcommitting with his jab, when he overcommitted with his jab here and he's reaching in, Terence Crawford now would be on this side and he would counterpunch him. So he throw his lead left, 1, 2, right? Lead left, boom, right? So if I slip off to the side right here, where your jab is somewhere here, and I slip off to the side of you here, I can catch you over your jab and then come back with another shot. That's what Errol Spence basically did. He pulled back and then boom, boom. Okay? So that's what happened. And basically he was doing that all night long. I don't think there's any time when actually Errol's defense was pretty good once he was going backwards and was defending himself. It's when Errol would commit and overreach with certain shots, he'd get tagged. And Errol, in the case of the knockdown, which we will go through and you will see, Errol was pressing the action. He pressed the action in the first round. He pressed the action in the second round. Terence Crawford in the first round saw that Errol was overcommitted and he was able to counterpunch him at a certain point in the first round. You'll see all of that. And then after that, Terence Crawford again came back and caught him in the second round, overcommitting. He slid in with the jab. So he kept his back foot in position, slid in with the jab, trying to counter Terence Crawford's jab to the body. The Terence Crawford had superior reach advantage. So he slid in with the jab. Terence Crawford was waiting on him. He just took a half step back and then boom, boom, he caught him. Boom, boom, caught him, right? So I say all of that to say that Terence Crawford's approach was to step around Errol Spence and counterpunch him. Basically, that was it. Boxing. Errol's approach. Now, they said that Terence Crawford took away Errol's jab. He didn't really take away his jab. Errol was jabbing all night. He made his jab ineffective for most of the fight. That's what he did. He didn't really take away the jab. Errol was committed to jabbing. Now, it's interesting what Errol's trainer was telling him to do. And Errol was trying to do it, but he wasn't doing it. And it's very interesting, and I'll go into all of that as well. And why Errol got beaten up so bad in this fight. Weight loss and all of that, weight cut or not considering. If you got good defense, this wouldn't even be an issue. And Errol's defense was very holy, and it was because of Errol. It wasn't because of what his trainer and his coach was telling him. Derek James was telling him the right things to do. But Errol was so adamant on getting back Terrence Crawford because Errol said he don't like the boxing thing. He wanted to just beat up a guy. So Errol was in the frame of mind to beat up Terrence Crawford regardless. And he was not listening to what Derrick James was saying. He was not focusing. And you will see Derrick James gave him good advice, and he just didn't listen. That's why Errol said he knew he could do better than he did there. So let's get back to Crawford's approach. I'm taking a little time here doing this, but it'll be worth a while. So here's Crawford again. All right, so Errol's trying to cut him off. Crawford's pushing Errol back. Errol did well defensively when he was on the defense. Double jab coming in. You see Terrence Crawford, they're feinting like plenty. All right, Errol comes in, but Crawford is staying away from him, staying just out of range. There it is, right there. He counters him. See, notice Crawford is on the outside of Errol's jab there. There again, he's outside the Errol's jab. He catches him with a looping left. But Errol's jabbing away. It's not like Errol's not jabbing. That's what Errol do. But the problem with Errol, and what I'll do is at the end of this round, I'll tell you what Coach Derrick James said. Actually, he's going to say that at the end of the second round. See Crawford throwing that jab. Just got caught with a jab, but quite defensively responsible is Crawford there. All right, you don't need to see all that. All right, here's the second round. Spence is throwing his jab again, and he's pressuring Crawford. But Crawford's defense is nice and tight. Nice and tight defense. But he's watching Errol Spence. He's watching his rhythm. He's watching his timing. See, he pokes some jabs now, and now he's making Errol pay to come in the inside. Errol throws a body shot there. Crawford locks him up. See, beautiful lockup right there. Errol Spence cannot get free of the lock because Crawford knows how to wrestle and he knows how to clinch. Now watch what happens here. So that's how Crawford is controlling the fight. Crawford's the one actually watching Errol Spence, and see how his guard is up. He keeps his defense nice and tight. Errol's the one, throwing a lot of shots. Crawford starts to parry the jab and jab with him. But notice Crawford is circling Errol at a certain distance. This is the important thing. And if he has to circle back the opposite way as Errol is throwing the jab, there's a nice body shot. This is it. Nice body shot there by Crawford. Crawford's got that reach advantage. Errol has the double and triple. Nice combination by Crawford. Errol did use his defense pretty well there. But the problem with Errol was he wasn't using his feet, meaning he wasn't respecting distance. He's kind of like James Toney. I'll explain what I mean. So Errol, he's getting a little body shots and stuff, but Crawford's defense is nice and tight right there. So Errol's now getting baited into being very offensive. He doesn't realize he's being set up. Crawford's not doing much, just keeping his hands up. But Crawford realizes he could thread the needle, and he realized he got a longer reach, so he can get to Errol easier than Errol can. So now he's poking at his defense with the jab. There's the jab to the body. Here he comes. Errol's jabbing up on top. Errol's trying to land body shots. Crawford just dipped under it, blocked it. So Errol's defense is pretty sharp right now. Crawford's defense is pretty sharp, but Crawford's going to set him up. Nice little clench to lock him off, pushed him off. Catching those shots. See, he countered him over the top. He didn't catch him flush on the head, but Crawford understood what he needed to do. He just pulled back off an angle, and he started countering. Errol's still coming in with those shots, but anytime you're trying to go to the body, you leave your head exposed. There it is right there. I'm going to show you it again. He set him up. Watch it. I'll show you where. He's setting him up all the time, actually. He's making him very, oh, there it is again. Oh, this was very quick. I don't want to do it in slow motion, but all right, here we go. So see Crawford there? He pulls back. He's seeing the shot now. Okay, watch what he does here. He's pulling back. the bait and there's the counter. Okay. He baited him. I don't know if you guys can see that. He went with a jab to the body. He knew Errol was going to come in. He was leaning in, waiting for Errol to come in. I don't think you can see it here, but try. He bait and countered him. Here it comes. Errol's really in a rhythm here. They mix jab. There's a jab to the body. Errol tries to do the jab to the body. There it is. So what Crawford did, I know you guys can't really see it. You guys can't really understand what I'm saying. It happened so fast. But basically, Crawford, he pulled back off an angle to get to the weak side. Errol will now lean in. He really extended himself a lot. And Crawford's right on weak side. So as Errol jab missed Crawford, oh, I know what? I'm going to show you it with another video. I'm going to show you it with another video. Hold on a second. All right, this video will show you. Okay. Okay, this video shows it much more. So here, Errol right there, they're trading jabs. Okay, that's the first round, right? We don't know what Derek James is saying to Errol here. I don't know what happened. The commentary team was talking. I want to show you something. So let me see. I'm going to show you something. So here they go again. I think they'll show it in slow motion or something. So Errol's going to the body here. Crawford clinches him up, locks him down. All right, this is just moments in the fight. All right, now. They're trying to change levels and stuff. Didn't really catch Errol flush there. Errol getting very aggressive and reckless with his defense. There it is, right there. Okay. Now maybe we'll see it in slow motion somewhere. It's Coach Derek James talking to him. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Okay. Right there. All right. So now in slow motion, you might be able to see what I'm talking about. See what he did there? Okay, let me show you it again. Oh, shit. Okay. Let me show you it again. Okay. Watch this. Errol misses with the jab, but notice where Crawford is. He's in the outside of the jab there. So he was able to counter punch him. There it is again. All right. I'm going to show you again. Oh, man. God damn it. All right. Watch this again. Watch this. This is important. See, he's to the outside of Errol Spence's jab. Watch it again. Oh, come on. Okay. All right, you're going to see it one more time. Look where Crawford is. He's to the outside of Errol Spence's jab. That's why he was able to catch him. Boom. Bam. He actually set him up for that. That's why he was expecting that. All right. So that was the important point that I was trying to get. That this is what made the fight. Crawford wasn't standing directly in front of Errol. It was respecting distance, and he knew his range. He knew his range. That's why he was able to catch Errol with certain shots. So I want you to hear what Derek James said. So I'm actually going to turn on the volume on this. Turn up the volume.
Able to land. Doesn't do too much. Flat. Enough to the person there. The epitome of a tech.
Okay. This is what Derek James says at the end of the round.
Explosive jab to the head and the body. And combination.
All right.
Was able to land.
Right. So you heard Derek James say to Terrence Crawford, for those of you who didn't hear, he said, you were off balance, right? He was saying that because he realized that Errol was reaching in with his shot. Now, even though Errol, hold on a second, let me kill the volume again. So even though Errol was His back foot was in place. He was stealing a shot. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about in a minute. And he missed and came down the wrong line. Derek James here telling him you off. There it is right there. So he got caught for two reasons. One, Crawford knew he was going to come in, try to respond to him jabbing him to the body. And he realized Errol was going to the body. So he set it up. It was actually a setup. And Errol fell for the bait. So when Crawford tapped him to the body, Crawford, of course, don't have to reach as much as Errol. Errol had to reach in, which means he had to reach out to catch Crawford. Went down the wrong line because Crawford pulled back off an angle. He pulled back to weak side. And he was leaning over waiting. And he hit him with the left hand, boom. And then he came back with the jab. And those two punches caught him. And of course, both punches with equal power and weight knocked Errol down. So Errol was trying to reach Crawford because Crawford's longer than him. And in reaching in, he got caught. Now, one of the things, now I'm gonna reveal a little secret about boxing. Now, I'm gonna reveal a little secret about boxing. This is one of the Floyd Mayweather gems, okay? I'm gonna tell y'all, because you always have to be defensively responsible. And in this case, Errol Spence wasn't defensively responsible. So I'm gonna explain something to you. Now, if you're dealing with a southpaw, and you are a southpaw yourself, you gotta keep yourself in a position where the southpaw can't catch you like he wants to. Obviously, Spence misread Terrence Crawford's reach a number of times. All right, and so that's why he got caught. Terrence Crawford has a long reach. When you think of Josecito Lopez versus Keith Thurman, for example, where you may snap back, okay, and that's why I'm talking a la James Toney. You might snap back out of a shot, right? I might snap back out of a shot as a southpaw, but it's not enough. It's not enough distance. I still get popped because the guy has a longer reach than I anticipated. The one thing Terrence Crawford did in this fight from the get-go was establish range. And he did it two ways. The first way was he kept his guard high and was catching Errol Spence's shots and watching how far away Errol Spence was from him. And the other thing he did was he started popping his jab in between Errol Spence's jab and seeing if it would hit him. So how far away he was. Once he established where range was and where he was outside of the pocket, he was cool. Errol didn't do that. Right? And we're going to talk about Errol's approach separately to Terrence's approach. Errol didn't do that. All right? I'm going to get into that a little later. But first, Errol was off balance when he got caught. And that's because he was reaching. Because Terrence was further away because he hadn't checked range. He should have known this guy I'm fighting has a longer reach than me. So if I go into the pocket and I'm coming back out the pocket, I can't come straight back out the pocket. See, this is a little secret I'm teaching you guys now. Okay? When you go into the pocket, you must have, if you're going in and out the pocket, like how Errol was trying to do, that's why he kept his back foot where it was. When you're going in and out the pocket, your position of entry, you must have a position of exit. So let me explain what I mean. Angle of entry, angle of exit. And Errol knows this, but for some reason, he decided he was going to try and bully Terrence Crawford, and he wasn't really focusing on what he's supposed to be doing. I can't show you my feet, so we'll just do it with angles, okay? If I'm coming into the pocket, I'm southpaw. This is southpaw stance. And I'm jabbing my way into the pocket. If I come in at this angle here, then I need to pivot. That's why it's so essential to know the pivot. I'll have to pivot on the ball of my front foot and exit this way. Now, why that's important, or pivot the other way. Either way, listen to me. You don't want to end up pulling out directly in front of your opponent. And let me show you two reasons why. When Errol threw his jab and missed, he threw his jab down low, and he missed his opponent. He missed his opponent, right? Right? He missed his opponent. Here's what happened. He missed his opponent, and now his whole weak side, all here, is exposed. But to take away weak side, what you have to do if you're going to pull back out, is you have to change the angle. Didn't I tell you guys that? So that calls for a simple thing like a pivot. It doesn't matter how fast the other guy is. A pivot doesn't take much to do, right? We know this from martial arts. You pivot and you take away the angle that was there. So if he's going to enter the pocket one way, he need to exit the pocket another way. It takes away that angle, takes away that vulnerability. And that's something that's standard when Floyd Mayweather was fighting. That's why he talked about the pivot. And Errol is very capable of that. I've seen Errol do 180-degree pivots. But because Errol been a bully for so long and he been able to just bully people down, he don't use it that much anymore. I saw him do it against Mikey Garcia. I saw him do it against Sean Porter. But in this fight, Derek James was telling him, move your feet. What he meant by that is pivot. And he didn't do it. I'm going to get to that, though. So that's why he got caught with that shot. Now, with respect to Terrence Crawford set a trap for him. That was a trap set. Okay? He was letting Errol Spence get into his groove, get comfortable, get confident while he kept his defense tight. And then he sprung the trap. He jabbed him to the body. That's called a bait. He knew once you bait an opponent, you just throw any kind of jab out there, your opponent will want to jab you back, especially if you hit them. If you hit your opponent, they want to hit you back. They want to get their get back. And by wanting to get your get back, you have that opportunity now. You kind of set a framework. You kind of control the narrative. And when they're going to try and get their get back, you counter them. And that's what Terrence Crawford did. So Terrence Crawford, that's how he counterpunched Errol Spence and was able to catch him. Errol Spence said his timing was off and his rhythm was off. His rhythm wasn't so much off. He just couldn't get it going, because once that happened, Terrence Crawford still, okay, well, let's go through Terrence Crawford's approach. So Terrence Crawford's approach was to step around Errol Spence, counterpunch him, use his jab. And he used his jab because, as Terrence Crawford said, Errol Spence always attacked everybody one way. And I thought Errol was going to do something a little bit different. I do agree that Errol Spence was too much in front of Terrence Crawford. And Derek James is going to talk about this as well. He was just standing in front of Terrence Crawford. And we'll go into that. But suffice it to say, Terrence Crawford was the one doing the moving more and circling Errol Spence. He was the one that was changing his angles and getting the opportunities to see the weak side open out. Whereas Errol Spence was more standing and reacting to Terrence Crawford as Terrence Crawford circling him the direction he wanted to circle him, which Errol never cut off that direction. He never cut off Terrence Crawford. You can cut off a fighter, but again, because Errol never established range, he couldn't really do these things effectively. You see? Whereas Terrence established range from the jump. You know, he made sure he saw what Errol Spence was doing, how far he can go, you know, and then he make him fall short a little bit, and he countered him, and he, okay, all right. We know what it is from here on in. All right, so I'm going to show you something else, right? Let's just go through these highlights here. I don't want to go through the whole entire fight. All right. Let me show you something else. So this is another round here in the fight. Well, these are just moments in the round. These are just moments in the round. See, Errol's not keeping his composure. He's just very aggressive. He's like, defense be damned. And his defense is not bad, but it's just not great. And the other thing is he's not really taking his time to build up like he did in other fights. But I guess that's because Terrence was a much more mobile fighter. Okay, this is an important point here. All right, cool. Okay, you're going to hear what Derek James is going to say. All right, this is important. Okay.
Speed, sharp, accurate jab from Terrence Bud Crawford.
Okay, right here. All right. Now listen what Derek James says at the end of that round.
Looking at him, that's why he hitting it. He's waiting on the entry. He don't get careless because he don't come.
Defense trained by former pro
Right.
light heavyweight.
Now, you heard what McIntyre said. He said he's going to get careless. So don't get careless. He's going to come to you. And Derek James said, you're waiting too much. You're standing in front of him. So Derek James, we're going to talk about Spence's approach later. The important thing is McIntyre said two things. First one was, man, you way faster than him. The second thing he said was, don't get careless. He going to come to you. Right? So the game plan was really simple. And in fact, Terrence Crawford said their game plan was to take away Errol Spence's jab, because he's going to come on to me and I'm just going to counterpunch his ass. I'm going to box him. So that was their game plan. And Derek James, on the other hand, he was telling Errol Spence, listen, man, you are standing in front of him waiting on him. Don't stand in front of him waiting on him. He wanted him to use his legs and step around him. Cut him off, but step around him. And Spence wasn't doing that. Let's get to the Spence approach, because basically Crawford's approach was what I just described in essence. Go weak side, step around the guy, let him come to you. He gonna reach because you have the longer reach. He's gonna reach, make him pay for covering distance. Every time he tried to cover real estate, make him pay. That's basically what Terrence Crawford was doing, and that's how he was catching Errol Spence. Flush, right? Because he's pulling back off an angle. He's not pulling back straight back. So Terrence was doing what Floyd do. Terrence was using the pivot to get off the angle, and then he was using that pivot to counter. All right. Spence's approach. Spence's approach was to pressure Terrence Crawford, come off his jab, come off of angles, pressure him, and work the body. Okay? Work the head, work the body. Come off a triple jab, double jab. Derek James didn't want him standing in front of Crawford, and you're going to hear that here.
Wait, Derek James, mega fight back in 2015. Both in attendance here tonight. And that rally in Terrence Crawford. He's not turning. He's not chip on his shoulder. He'll find critics, but none exist just to get that.
Hold on a sec.
And he continues to choke Errol Spence, whereas Floyd Crawford, who has already knocked down Errol Spence.
An excellent round to jab so effectively.
There he is again, loose side.
Using a variety of punches, including the uppercut. Later in the round, a lead left hand that lands.
Okay. Derek James is going to talk to Errol Spence right here. Okay, we got a guest in the building. Hold on a second, people. Let me just see what's going on in the comment section. Scroll up, man. Come on, scroll up. What is your problem? What is wrong with this phone? Okay, somebody in the private chat says, I'm here. KP from KC. All right, KP from KC. Hold on a second there, brother. What's up, KP from KC? I'll mute your mic. Yeah, I'll mute you.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
Hold on. I'm unmuting you. I think I mute you back. Hold on a second. Come on now. Let me unmute you. Okay, it should hear you now. Go ahead. Can't unmute
Yeah, I'm
your
here.
guest
I'm
because
here.
they can't-
I'm here.
Okay, good, good, good. All
Yeah,
right,
I'm here,
man.
man. Um,
What's up, my brother?
Nothing much, man. Based on what I'm seeing from that fight when I rewatched it, he's gonna have a tough time no matter what weight it's at. He's not beating that guy.
Okay,
Terrence Crawford is Earl Spence's Bernard Hopkins to Trinidad. That's what that is.
okay,
He's not beating him. He doesn't have the skills necessary to beat him. And fighting backing up, you can see, is a true test for Earl Spence to even be able to do. Because if he can't impose his will on Terrence Crawford, which he showed you in the first fight, he couldn't. How does he beat Terrence Crawford by come? Because if he's not coming forward, he's not beating. You can see that very plain. And then you seen Terrence Crawford in the second or third round throw Earl Spence off of him, and that showed Earl Spence that he had enough strength. And his counters was too well. He could parry and counter. He could jab with him and counter him. He could do all those things. And I didn't see Earl Spence do any of those things. And I'm a Spence fan, and I picked Spence to win the fight. He's not beating that guy though. He's not beating him.
okay. So what we are doing right now is we're actually going through the fight, and what we're doing is we're showing Spence approach. I'm showing you Derek James instructions. Actually, let me put that there. Derek James instructions and why Spence wasn't even doing those instructions. Um, And basically, Crawford's game plan was to counter Spence coming in, which is what I was doing in the video I was showing you guys, and I actually went into detail about what weak side attacks, what is called weak side attacks, and that's what basically Terrence Crawford was doing. He wasn't coming straight down the center. He wasn't doing that. Now, Errol Spence was supposed to do the same thing. That's what Derek James was trying to get him to do. So let me play another clip here from the thing of Derek James instructing Errol Spence. Errol Spence wasn't doing that. So I'm going to show you. I'm doing a little breakdown. And I also talked about the pivot, whereas Crawford was using the pivot. He'd come in, he'd enter at a certain angle and exit at a certain angle. I don't know if you know all of this, but the pivot is a very important tool in boxing. Speed and all of that is cool, but the pivot is the most important tool. So in breaking this down here, I just wanted to share that with you guys. So let me show you what Derek James is saying after, I believe this is round 4 or one of them, where Errol took a lot of punishment. So Derek James, first of all, told him not to stand in front of Crawford, right? Same thing, Crawford wasn't standing in front of him. And then 2, he told him also to, well, let me tell you here it is.
Variety of punches, including the uppercut. Later in the round, a lead left hand that landed.
Okay. Now, in case you didn't hear what he said, Derek James said he's beating you with the jab. Okay. So move your feet. What he basically saying, step around him. He'd been telling him to step around him, but Errol was like so aggressive. He wasn't listening. And Errol knows this. He wasn't listening to what Derek James was telling him. And Derek James gave him some specific instructions, round by round. All right. And he was telling Errol that he needed to step around Crawford as well. Now, let me explain what that is exactly. Oh, hold on one second. Let me just see something here. I see private chat. What's that about? Oh, that's you. You had a phone call. Okay, no problem. So one of the very important points I think that we should all consider is, like I said before, when we say step around opponent, you have to understand what we're doing. We're trying to get to the weak side of the opponent where the opponent cannot hit us and we can hit them. That's what step around is about. It's like a weak side attack. Lomachenko.
Hey, you remember? Hey, watch, you remember the last time Earl probably did a step around move? If I could remember, I'm gonna just tell you, it was probably way back when he fought Lamont. I haven't seen him step around nobody since probably Lamont.
He steps around. Last fight, he stepped around Ugas. But Ugas is not a big mover. You got to understand something.
It's not Crawford, right? Ugas not Crawford is athletic. No way. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is Crawford was actually moving as well, and he was stepping around Spence. So when you're going to step around an opponent, there are two things that Errol didn't do. He did it for a minute, but then he stopped doing it, which is to step around Crawford, you first have to cut him off, which means cut off the ring. You got that? But you have to stay at a distance where you are outside the pocket when you're doing that. Errol did not establish range. Crawford diligently in the first round was watching Errol, everything he was doing, and he was finding the range of Errol. So why Errol was reaching in for Crawford, whereas Crawford wasn't reaching for Errol, is because Crawford established his range by popping his jab, so he knew how far away he was from Errol. So for Errol to get to him, Errol had a double jab or triple jab, and Errol, and coming down there, Errol found himself reaching for Crawford because Errol's trying to beat down Crawford. His mentality was to beat him down. So he's not listening to what his trainer's telling him, Derek James. See, that's why Errol said at the end of the fight, "Oh, I could have done a lot better." Yeah, you sure could have. You wasn't listening to your trainer. You wasn't listening to Derek James. Okay,
I would say this. Why? I seen the way they trained for this fight, and I seen the way they dismissed Terrence Crawford, and I took it as they were very arrogant. And I'm a Spence fan. The arrogance that they showed is not the respect that Crawford and his team showed them.
You hit the hammer on the head, JP, because he did not have respect for Terrence Crawford's power. He thought he was a small dude. He still thought it somewhere in the back of his mind. He thought that was a small dude he was fighting. He didn't respect the power.
Yep, and by disrespecting his power, it allowed him to come in with one game plan, because I don't think they had another game plan. That's why they couldn't switch gears after the knockdown. So once the knockdown happened,
no, you got to understand this. Errol didn't follow the game plan. Derek James was telling him the game plan. Let me tell you what the game plan was. That's why I said Spence approach, right? So the game plan was that Spence was not supposed to just come out there and blaze it and try and just get active. He never did that in any of his fights. He never started. Spence is not a fast starter. He's not. He actually sensibly stays behind his jab. And then even if he doesn't get the jab in, he's careful that he's staying to the weak side of his opponents. Like I said, with the Dennis Ugas, he attacks Dennis Ugas on the weak side, right? But most of his opponents that he faced, to be fair, have not been as mobile as Terrence Crawford. So Errol tried to go out there and blaze up Terrence Crawford and rush him, and that was not the way to go about doing it. Wasn't. You ain't firing range. You throwing a lot of shots. This guy's a tactical guy. He sets traps. You're not even looking at that, you know. He had a good look at you. Terrence Crawford had a good look at you in round one. He was watching everything you was doing. JP from JC, he dropped off, but I hope he can come back because I love this discussion. Because we literally talking boxing here. So Errol needed to be a lot more measured. He needed to find range because he was dealing with a guy with a longer reach than him. So he had to be. If you watch it, Terrence Crawford versus Jose Benavidez, Crawford was very circumspect about going into the pocket because he understood Benavidez had a longer reach than him. Errol was not respectful of reach at all. And that's why he kept on getting popped with the jab. And what did Derek James say? Derek James said, he keep on popping you with the jab. His jab is winning the fight. He said, use your feet. In other words, don't stand in front of him. He said you're waiting on him. You're standing in front of him. I think 2 rounds before that. Derek James gave him the same instructions, step around him. And Errol was not doing that. And yes, Crawford's also circling Errol, and again, he's circling the right way. He's circling to it's counterintuitive because as a southpaw, you don't circle to your opponent's power hand, but once you keep the distance, you can circle to your opponent's power hand. And we've seen it now umpteen times, whether you're orthodox or southpaw. So Crawford was circling to Errol Spence's power hand. But when he has to circle out, he goes the opposite direction to take away the angle so Spence can't hit him. But he also opens up an angle to counter Spence at the same time because he's circling out. And if Errol Spence reaches in, now he's left open because his weak side is open. So again, I will demonstrate. I'm taking my time to demonstrate this. I have to watch the camera angle, but let's just say I'm here. Okay. I'm a southpaw because that's what I am. So if I throw my jab, here is the weak side. If my opponent can get to this side, I can't cross my hands and hit him. And I have to turn to hit him. Okay? So in its essence, Crawford, when Errol Spence reaches for Crawford, he reaches for Crawford. Crawford simply steps back. So if Crawford is here, he's going to step back this way. He's going to step back at an angle this way. Oh, the camera exaggerates it, but right here, right there. It's not a big set of movement. It's a little pivot, right? So that when I reach in this way, and you step back this way, right? I can come over the top and hit you. Boom, 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 or boom, 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 boom. Okay? So that's what happened. Now, again, if he was to throw his lead hand, same thing. I go to the outside of the lead hand, boom, 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 boom. I could go to the body, head, whatever. Right? And that's what basically Crawford did most of the night. Now, when he started to really break down Errol Spence, he went to the inside and started chopping him up. But what Mr. McIntyre said to him, which was brilliant, was he said, leave a little space so you can work them shots and you can also keep your defense. You can see what's going on. So Crawford was always aware. So the question that my subscriber, what's his name? Hold on. You said you wanted me to discuss Floyd Mayweather and Terrence Crawford as undefeated champions, right? Hold on a second. Cam 5914. You said, what do you think of Floyd and Crawford both being undefeated and champions? All right. So Crawford, just like Floyd Mayweather, has a similar approach to things. If fights are won by your positioning, which means your footwork, where you can get your body into position. So Crawford stepped around Errol Spence when Errol Spence attacked him, and he was able to counterpunch him by slipping back and then countering him weak side. How he circles out is important. You don't go straight back, you circle out. Now, that's essentially what he did. Errol Spence was supposed to do something similar. He was supposed to step around, but he was going to do it in a different way because he's the pressure fighter. So what he had to do was step around, cut him off, and make Crawford go a direction he didn't want to go. Step around, cut him off. If you're a pressure fighter, that's what you have to do. You can't stay directly in front of your opponent. If you're going to stay directly in front of your opponent, you got to keep your defense super tight. But you can see Errol wasn't focused on defense. He was focused on trying to do offense. And if you're going to go to the body, you know your head's going to be exposed, even if it's for a moment. So these were important things, you know. So let me show you what Derek James said. He said a bunch of stuff. Errol wasn't doing a lot of stuff. And it's not like they didn't practice it. It was the mentality. All right, I want you to hear this one.
He's got to land something that makes a difference. There's Crawford taking his side with just over a minute left in the fifth. He's landing a lot more. Terrence Crawford, he eats it and continues without.
Okay, now listen what Derek James says to Errol Spence here.
Using the jab very effectively.
Okay, here it is. Listen to him. I don't know if you can hear him, but here it goes. Okay, that's the same thing he was saying. Using the jab, he's coming down the middle. So use your legs to step around him. He said it again. This is the second time. So in the fourth round, he said, he hitting you with a jab. You need to move your feet. Second time, he was even more specific. He said, he's using a jab on you. You need to use your legs and step around him. He's literally repeating the same thing he said since round 2. Right? He said, you're standing up there waiting on him. Don't stand up waiting. He's saying you need to step around him. He's been saying it the whole fight, actually.
It is a freak athlete. Spence now backing up, and we don't normally see Errol Spence backing up.
Let me just say, Errol Spence didn't get caught much backing up. He mostly got caught when he was doing his offense. And again, when you're being an offensive, it is easier to get hit when you're on defense, right? Common sense, right? So Errol Spence didn't get hurt mostly when he was defensively minded. It was when he was offensively minded. He wasn't always defensively responsible, meaning if I'm going to go attack you, I should attack you not coming down the center, but I should look for opportunities to attack you off of angles, which is what Errol Spence do best. But remember, Terrence is also pivoting around him. So to find those angles, you have to be a little tricky. You have to change directions to get that opening and stuff like that. So that's what kind of happened in that fight. Now, let me just keep it moving, because there's one more instruction Derek James says to him, which I think is very important for us to hear. So you see Errol right now is on the side of Crawford here. Oh, you guys can't see this. Let me show you. So you see he started to actually move off angles. They both are angling with each other. So let me show you a little something here.
Backing up. Crawford avoiding the front of the body blows when he was fighting.
Right there. They're off of angles right here. See? That was good inside work by both of them. There you go again. Good inside work. Oh, there you go again. Now, the other problem again, misjudge of distance. So Errol will be snapping back a la James Toney, where Roy Jones Jr. caught him with a leaping left hook. You don't want to be snapping back when you need to pivot out the way of a shot. So again, point of entry, point of exit. I got to pivot off the ball of my foot. If I'm coming in and I'm snapping back, I need to snap back at an angle. You see what I'm saying? At an angle. Sometimes I need to hop, do what we call a skip hop, and hop backwards. After I come through, I hop backwards, but not straight back, off an angle. And that's something that Errol wasn't doing. Right? And he can. I told you, his strength is pivot work. But for some reason, I don't know if it's a knockdown. I don't know if it's because he got hit upside his head. He wasn't doing that. He was snapping back a lot, but he wasn't, and he's snapping back on the swivel too, but he wasn't hopping back, or he wasn't pivoting at an angle. So those are two very key things. If he does that, it becomes a much more competitive fight. And then Terrence got to figure out some more things to do. You see what I'm saying? So Derek James' instructions, I mean, that's what cost Errol a lot of the fight.
He said that he would take it away, and it seems like he's doing that against Spence. Made Terrence Crawford feel uncomfortable.
Now he's doing body shots, but oh wow, Crawford took some shots in this fight. He did. But he's tough.
He has to really work.
Nice jab. Man, Crawford got that beautiful jab. They just snapping back. Both of them was just snapping back too. Man, they. All right.
Spence was working downstairs.
Yeah, he was really working the body.
Offensive happened to answer that last round, initiating the offense with that.
Crawford was more effective on the outside, of course, with his reach, but still.
And Morrow made the counter as Spence moves. Make sure you got room on the inside to punch.
That's McIntyre. He said, make sure you got room on the inside to punch, because McIntyre understood that Terrence more lands those big, nice, long shots. He got a looper shots to get the power on the shots. So he was saying, make sure you got that space in there to punch, right? Whereas Errol really thrived on the inside when he positioned his body to step around Terrence. So actually, if Errol could have gotten body to body on the inside and step around Terrence, he would have really done a lot better. So I'm just showing you guys in this fight what would have. I'm not saying Terrence wouldn't have made an adjustment to that, but I'm just saying there was a lot that Spence didn't do correctly in this fight. That's why there can be a significantly different fight in the next fight, more like what we were anticipating. I still got Terrence winning, but I'm just saying. All right. I want you to hear it again. McIntyre.
Trying to get something offensive happen to Anderson that last round, initiating the offense with that.
Listen to
shotgun
McIntyre.
kick. And Morrow made the bill counter as Spence moves.
Make sure you got room on the inside to punch, okay?
Hear that? So he said, make sure you got room on the inside to punch, okay? Because that's where Terrence really do his best work, when he gets that leverage off his shot. It's not really short chopping shots. He loop his shots to get that leverage, to get that power. He whipped the shots, but he looped them. All right. Anyways, man, I love talking about this because Terrence reminded me a lot of Floyd Mayweather and the approach to things. He do it different, but he had an approach to things that's beautiful.
We begin the second half of this jam. Crawford avoiding him. To the face of Spence by Crawford. And
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff by Crawford, man. Beautiful jab. Put him down. All right. Here's what Derrick James said. The last thing he says, which I think is important.
The accuracy, the punish lands a good punch. It's not hurting Crawford. Accuracy to power. The accuracy moving forward, being body work. He experienced.
Okay, here it comes.
Spence coming forward and he gets countered with answer.
There's a beautiful right hook. It's like a right uppercut, right hook. Terrence rips it from. What is that stance? He's actually in the orthodox stance when he rips that right hook, which is kind of weird. So he shifts and he rips the right hook from the orthodox stance. So he actually shifted there.
Beautiful, a right up. Right is usually the one that lands, and that counter right uppercut from Crawford is just phenomenal. I mean, that right.
the accomplishments of both fighters, both coming in undefeated.
I want to get Derrick James talking here.
Power shot by Spence.
Trying to move and give him some specific.
Backing up again. By Spence.
Okay, I can't find it, but Derrick James said one more thing. He gave one more instruction to Errol Spence, and he said to him, he told him, you got to do single punches. You can't be throwing combinations. You're going to get countered. So do one or two punches. Again, that's a Floyd Mayweather kind of thing. Floyd, not to get countered, you pick your spots, you pick your shots, and box him. This was after Spence had taken a lot of punishment. I think it was at the end of the 7th round. He was telling, so Derrick James was telling him the right things. But Errol, he started doing the single punches, but then he would go into a combination again and he'd get countered. Okay. So what Derrick James said to him was great instructions. You know, it was great instructions. You know, it would have definitely made, if you listened, it definitely would have made a much more competitive fight. I didn't really see Crawford knocking out Spence if Spence stayed D, if he kept his defense tight and he picked his shots. The problem with Spence was he rushed everything. He was trying to get back at Crawford. He was trying to get back shots, and he wasn't really being defensively responsible. And he kept his composure, no doubt about that, but he wasn't taking his time. You know, you got to take your time, assess things, and then take it from there. So I think Crawford had the edge on that. Both guys actually have very similar traits and very similar skill sets. Crawford, of course, can switch hit a little bit. And actually, the difference between them was Crawford was quicker. And the other thing about Crawford was he was implementing his game plan. He was stepping around Spence. He was stepping around him. Of course, with the longer reach, that jab made a big difference in the fight because Spence was standing in front of Crawford. And instead of stepping around or pivoting off the ball of his foot to change the angle so he wouldn't get hit with a shot, he ended up snapping back. And when you snap back, he didn't have enough distance because Crawford got the longer reach. And Crawford also was able to pivot into weak side and catch him. So where, you know, Spence would have normally snapped back and that would have been it, he was getting caught with shots. So my assessment of the situation is that for Derrick James and Errol Spence, they got some minor adjustments to make. Coming in healthier, they'll be sharper, quicker, just minor adjustments. And of course, Errol Spence, man, you missed the pivot work. What the hell, man? You didn't use no pivots in this fight much. I mean, when you're fighting off the back foot, you was pivoting, but I mean, other than that, you wasn't doing much pivots. You know what I'm saying? Crawford, phenomenal skill, phenomenal talent. So when you talk about Crawford, and Errol's no joke, and people say Errol don't have no defense. That's bullshit. Okay, he has defense, but he got so used to being the bully, he came out being the bully. He decided he was gonna bully Crawford, and boy, did he get his ass whooped. You know what I mean? He's not gonna approach the fight like that anymore. You gotta be smart, man. You gotta be smart in this boxing thing. I mean, Crawford cooked his ass. And credit to Terrence Crawford. He is pound for pound the best fighter in the world. He showed that he was levels above Spence in that fight. If Spence is going to do the get back, the first thing you need to do is not rush a rematch. Yes, you need an immediate rematch, no problem about that. But you don't need if you keep on trying to rush to get a get back, you're setting yourself up to get. Your attitude is one in which you're not willing to listen, keep your composure, and do the right things. Derrick James was giving you the right information. He was giving you specific information. And for some reason, you overrode that and you was not implementing the game plan. You decided, I'm going to bully this guy. I'm going to beat him up. And like, you never came out of that zone. You know what I mean? Boxing's a sport where it's chess. It's not checkers. And Terrence was playing chess and Spence was playing checkers. Real talk. And Derrick James was trying to get Spence to play chess, but he said, no, I'm playing checkers. All right, so you can't blame that. You can't blame Derrick James. Derrick James was doing what he was supposed to do. And we can't blame the weight drain, even if you are half a step behind or whatever, keep your defense tight. Keep your defense tight. And I told y'all a couple things, defensive responsibility. First, you must know where the range is, because you getting bopped with that jab because you think you could just snap out of there. And Derrick James be telling you standing in front of man. He telling you don't stand in front of man, don't snap back in front of man, step around him. He'd be saying it the whole night and the man wouldn't do it. And he'd be doing it for every other fight. But I think it's also because Terrence kept on stepping around him as well. So he's staying in the center, being the big bully, and Terrence is stepping around, and he's not stepping around Terrence, you know what I'm saying? So I think all of that was a new experience for him in some ways. And he probably think he's the bully, and he never got out of that mode. And so he paid the price. I mean, he did try to make some adjustments. He was fighting off the back foot and stuff. When he's fighting off the back foot, he actually wasn't getting hit as much. He got hit when he started coming forward and he started to try to get his shots in on Terrence Crawford hard as he could. He loaded up on shots and he'd be looping them shots. There's a lot of looping. No straight shots. I mean, if you're going to do something, do your shots straight. Shoot straight. It gets there faster. Nope. Big sets of hooks and stuff. And Terrence, we saw it in his public workout. You hook, I'm gonna roll under the hook and I'll counter. I'm gonna snap back and I'm gonna counter. Because I got a superior reach. Crawford fought him mostly on the outside. He started fighting him on the inside a bit. But that's what Crawford did. He used his reach and picked him apart. So let me get to the rematch. I agree with everybody out there. The rematch doesn't need to happen right now. Them guys, call it a year. Start next year. Even though the rematch, they say, is scheduled for December, once you've appealed for the rematch, y'all should chill out, let the year go through, and try to do the rematch early next year, maybe April, March, whatever, right? May, Cinco de Mayo. Do it somewhere there. You know what I mean? Because, one, y'all need to heal up. Two, from the training camps and everything, and get the nutrition back in your body so you're healthy, because of the weight drains, the weight cuts. Because Terrence Crawford is a big dude. Actually, he looked bigger than Errol Spence in that ring. Them both guys need to nourish themselves, take care of their families, chill out. I know Errol's eating and chomping at the bit, but you need to stay disciplined. You need to keep your composure and you need to abide by how life deals things to you. Work, keep on working, but don't work too hard. Don't burn yourself out. And take your time. I think the thing with this fight was the guy who took his time won this fight. Terrence Crawford took his time. He saw what was in front of him. He made sure he had proper assessments. He got caught with some pretty hard shots too, but he wasn't getting it regularly because his defense was stayed tight. He kept his defense tight, and he boxed Errol Spence. He didn't bang. He didn't come out there to do a bang fest. He boxed. He was the smarter of the two boxers. Because Derrick James gave Errol Spence the right advice. He gave him the right tools to be able to deal with the situation. And people say, Errol, he's not as skilled as Terrence. Well, Terrence can switch it, but Terrence didn't switch it that much in this fight. So they both had the same skills, but one was a smarter fighter. One knew how to use his skills for the appropriate time, and the other one just wanted to bully him. He wasn't listening to his trainer. He wasn't trying to implement what his trainer was telling him to do. His trainer was giving him absolutely perfect advice. So, and I'm sure they trained to do it, and they've done it in other fights. It's just that this was a much more mobile opponent, so you had to cut him off first, then you step around him. And how do you cut him off? You stay at a range outside of his range. You're walking him down, but you're walking him down outside his range. And if you don't know his range, because he can hit with his jab all the time, right? The only other thing you could have done, if you didn't know the range, then you had to step around him, close the distance off the angle, get on the inside and work your game on the inside. You would have to stay tighter so you can't loop the shots. You may have to smother. He may be clinching you a lot, so that the fight wouldn't have been as exciting. But at the end of the day, that's what you would have had to do. Okay, so a rematch, depending on if he listens to his trainer, if he's listening to Derrick James, because Derrick James give him solid advice, he'd do better in the rematch. I still got Terrence beating him because I think Terrence is just a smarter fighter. And that's what Floyd and Terrence have in common. Let's talk about Mayweather versus Diego Corrales. Similar sort of circumstance. Corrales coming forward, has a good jab. Corrales always had a good jab, close the distance work and stuff. And Mayweather had the longer reach. I think they said Corrales had the longer reach. I don't know, but I think Mayweather had the longer reach. So Mayweather, just like Terrence Crawford, but moving a lot more. Terrence Crawford was much more subtle with his movements and step arounds. There's those quick little half steps, and even the quick step to get to the inside, the lean in. So he's keeping virtual distancing. He's leaning closer to you than you think, and then he just snap back and pivot, and then whop, right? But Mayweather, and of course Terrence was more brutal. Okay, Mayweather dropped Diego Corrales 5 times. Similar strategy. Fighting from the outside, not so much in the inside, in the pocket, picking him off from the outside. When he closed the distance, we try to reach in, you catch him. As he's reaching in, go weak side, catch him, tax him up, beat him up. It was basically the same strategy. Smart fighters. Smart fighters, as they say, the smartest guy in that ring is going to win if all things being equal. And smart fighters, what makes Mayweather great and undefeated is the same thing that makes Terrence Crawford great and undefeated. That's why I said if I was to watch Mayweather versus Terrence Crawford, like Mayweather versus Pernell Whitaker, that's a great fight. That's a great fight because we're talking about 2 defensive fighters, 2 guys who keep their defense tight, and off of their defense, they watching you all the time. Terrence Crawford watching you all the time. Mayweather watching you all the time. Pernell Whitaker watching you all the time. They always watching you. They always watching you. And that's how they gather their data. They watching to see how far away you are. Okay, let me see what your power like. Okay, let's see what you good at doing. Okay, all right. Oh, that's what you're doing there. Okay, so they got in there. They're taking their time. They're keeping their composure. They're taking their time. Crawford throw more combinations. Money Mayweather, was 1 or 2 shots. Again, lower the risk. Same thing Derrick James was advising Errol Spence to do. And you got to understand something in boxing. It's not how fast you are. I'm going to break it down for you. It's not how fast you are. Okay? It's not how powerful you are. It's not how strong you are. I'm going to break it down for you. Defense is the first thing you need to have in boxing. You could be fast how fast you are. If you can't find me because I'm either too far away from you so I can see you when you're coming, so I know what to do, and I got good timing, your ass is grass. When a fighter, listen to me carefully. They say Manny Pacquiao faster than Floyd when throwing combinations. True. But Floyd kept Pacquiao at bay. He kept him so he could see him properly when he coming in. Terrence Crawford kept Errol Spence at bay. Because Errol Spence break bones, right? When he throw his punches. So I'm going to keep him at bay. I'm going to keep him at the end of my stick. And if he come in, I'm going to make him pay for covering the ground. You're not just going to come in, just walk in just any old way. And I'll make sure I'm facing you all the time. So you have to come down the center. And I'll sidestep you. I'll step around you. And I'll make it happen. The guy in control of that fight was Terrence Crawford, as you know. Smart fighters bait their opponents. Oh, he know what I was about to do before I did it. No, ninja. He set it up. He set it up so that that's what you were going to do. He made you do that. He the puppet master, right? And that's what Terrence Crawford did with Errol Spence. That's what Floyd Mayweather did with Manny Pacquiao. That's what Floyd Mayweather did with Diego Corrales. Floyd Mayweather recently in an interview said, man, he will bring in the heat. He will bring it. But he's bringing it. But I'm deciding when he's going to engage and when he's not going to engage. But he was bringing the heat. You understand? Because Diego Corrales was excellent at cutting off the ring. Right? But Mayweather understood distance. He understood how far away he needed to be. And whenever he was cornered, what he was supposed to do. You understand? So that is why I say power don't mean nothing in boxing. You know, you saw Mayweather fight many power punches, many guys with great jabs, you know. So we talked about this many, many years ago, how to neutralize a jab, etc. You know, let's talk about Canelo versus David Benavidez. It's the last thing that what's my boy's name here? Cam 5914. Cam 5914 wanted me to talk about, do I think that David Benavidez beats Canelo Alvarez? I can't definitively say whether he can or can't beat Canelo, but I'm going to tell you this. Against Caleb Plant, David Benavidez was like outplayed for the first 4 or 5 rounds. The first side of the fight was Caleb Plant's fight. He can't afford to do that against Canelo. Can't. Okay? Canelo's a guy, he got his data on you. Yeah, David Benavidez have a longer reach, so Canelo may have to deal with that for a minute. But Canelo's been dealing with guys with longer reach for the longest while. Canelo is a counterpuncher, ladies and gentlemen. David Benavidez is not a Terrence Crawford. He's not a Jamel Charlo. He don't move his feet that much. He one of them flat-footed fighters, right? He gets his leverage and power. He's quick. He's explosive. He has quick hands, more than quick feet. He's quick, explosive, but he's flat-footed. That's perfect for Canelo. Canelo loved them kind of fighters. Okay? So it'd be a war, but I got Canelo winning that fight. Just being real with you, brother. You know, a lot of people feel that, you know, David Benavidez would beat Canelo, pound Canelo into the dust. Canelo's a very strong guy, man. He fought at 175, y'all. He fought Sergey Kovalev and he fought Dmitry Bivol. And let me say this. A lot of y'all won't agree, but I think he beats Artur Beterbiev. It's not a popular opinion. It's a hot take. But again, Artur Beterbiev, he got decent speed and decent quickness in his feet. But if you can't cut those angles on Canelo and open him up, as Crawford did with Errol Spence, as Floyd did with Diego Corrales, He gonna beat your ass. He gonna beat you. Okay. Even Caleb Plant did with Canelo. You know. So that's why I got Jermell Charlo. You know, I got Jermell Charlo beating Canelo. Of course, we gotta wonder if Jermell Charlo can handle the power of Canelo. Charlo sometimes a little wild with his shots and stuff, but he does ride and roll punches. Derek James, again, when he was talking to Charlo, he said, make this easy on yourself, brother. All you got to do is box him. When he was talking about Charlo versus Castagna, the second fight, you just had to box him. And he got him, he knocked him out, right? All right, so it's the same thing. He needs to box Canelo. Just box him. You know what to do. You know our weak side works and all of that stuff. So it shouldn't be anything that you don't know about. Just don't let Canelo set and box him. If Canelo's been boxing and working on his foot cardio so he doesn't tire, because Canelo fades at a certain point in fights, especially as of late. And if he's not fading, if he's not fading, Canelo could win the fight. Because Canelo, I mean, Mel got a lot of skills himself, but not as refined. Canelo has a much more sharper, much more refined fighter than Mel, I think. But by and large, I mean, if Mel can keep him off, make him respect this power, Mel takes that fight, in my opinion. Comment section. We got some comments here. Mystic Mac says, I'm pretty sure Crawford opened the fight in the southpaw stance. Yes, he did. He fought southpaw most of the fight. I mean, he caught him with a right uppercut in the orthodox stance sometime later on in the fight. I think 7 rounds, something like that. But most of the fight he fought in southpaw stance. Yep, that's correct. Somebody else here. Mystic Mac says, I predicted Spence to win this originally based on his recent performances against Danny G and Ugas. I doubted Crawford's resume in comparison, but he took care of business and made it look easy. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he did. He made it look easy. It wasn't easy, but he made it look easy. Absolutely. And that's what Crawford and Floyd, they have in common. These exceptional fighters, you know. I'd love to see a rematch between Spence and Crawford. I think if Spence listens, at least, he should do better. In boxing, you know, we can make excuses for fighters, but to be honest with you, at the end of the day, if you got defense, you shouldn't be knocked out in no fight. And Spence wasn't listening because the defense is not just blocking punches. It's also how you step, how you move in the ring, how you keep a certain range or a certain distance in a fight. The defense involves a lot of things, right? It's not just your stance and blocking punches and stuff like that and getting out of the way of punches. So Spence did not utilize all the skill sets he had when it comes to defense. And Crawford didn't even introduce that other dimension he has, which is switch hitting. And he can switch from either stance to whatever. So he didn't even have to do that. He had to go to another gear. It was a spectacular performance, very good performance. You got to give Crawford all the props in the world. Pound for pound, #1 fighter in the world. You know, he's up there now. Not only a pound for pound fighter, but he's also, and y'all got to say it now, he is a pay-per-view star. He is a pay-per-view star from here on in. He's going to be making money fights, whatever fight. I think he wants Mel next. So we see, you know. But pay-per-view fights, you know what I mean? And, you know, he toiled. You know, I had my doubts about Crawford myself. But then when I saw this fight, I said, no. I saw him beat. After I saw him beat Sean Porter, I knew he was real because Sean Porter was a top 5 welterweight. And Sean Porter was giving him, but, you know, again, Crawford was mostly in control of that fight. Even though Sean Porter was, some people say, ahead on the scorecards and all of that, you know. Terrence, you know, was still mostly in control of that fight. He might not have been winning all those rounds, but so having said that, is there anything else you guys want to add or anything else you guys want to say? But you can always look back over this video. I'll try to cover it sort of comprehensively so you guys can understand what happened in Spence versus Crawford, what makes Crawford so great, what he has in common with Floyd Mayweather. The approach that Crawford had is similar to what Floyd Mayweather did with Diego Corrales. I thought that Crawford did more damage. I thought he looked more sensational than the Diego Corrales fight because Floyd was moving excessively in that fight. He still was moving a little too much more. Crawford more cut angles. He more pivoted a lot more. And then he used the subtle movements, just a little step back, half step back off an angle and then counter. So I thought, and even his inside work was pretty good. And he used everything. He used clinches, he used everything. So I thought it was a better performance against a much higher ranked guy. And you got to give Crawford his props, man. The guy really looked great. And then he made history, 2-time undisputed. On top of that, Crawford, with Spence is no joke, ladies and gentlemen. He's no joke. I don't care what nobody say. They could trash Spence. They could say he don't have defense and all that. He has defense. He didn't use it in that fight. He was trying to reach a lot. Again, Crawford had the longer reach, made him have to reach in, but still, nonetheless, he wasn't listening to David James, who's telling him to step around Crawford. And again, it might be harder to step around a guy when he's moving. You have to cut him off first, then step around him. You have to cut him off, freeze him, step around him. So it's all those little elements, Spence couldn't just do. He couldn't find himself executing, but he at least moved with Crawford, at least move. He was standing, he was staying freeze. He was standing in front of Crawford a lot. And when they know what the game plan was, but he didn't do it. So, it is what it is. And great fight by both fighters. I thought I would break it down for you guys. You know what? You need to try to educate you guys on boxing a little bit from a fan's perspective, because I don't actually box like that. I don't professionally box at the highest level like these guys do, but I try to break it down so you guys can understand. We talked about how to circle a southpaw. You can circle the conventional, traditional way, or you can circle a southpaw the more or less traditional way. But the great boxers, they generally circle a southpaw going to the power hand and they keep a certain distance. Again, it's all about range. You keep just outside, but it's just you're set up in such a way that if the person makes a mistake, you can counter him much easier because he's closer. You're not closer to him, but you can get a direct route to him. As if you're stepping in the orthodox way, circling, I think is what is anti-clockwise. Yeah. Or it depends on what you are. If you're southpaw or orthodox, it makes a slight difference. It's the same direction, but I think it's a slight distance because of the angles and everything. But it's all about attacking weak side. You ain't trying to come straight down the center. You ain't, unless you got a real solid defense and you're walking like Winky Wright styling. You know what I'm saying? All right, man. Let's see. So that's basically it. Mystic Mac, man. I guess a lot of people are believers in Terrence Crawford now, including myself. I didn't expect him to wash Spence like that. I know a lot of people were talking about it like that, and I was listening to people in the boxing community talking like it was going to be like that, but I didn't see that happen. But apparently it was. Apparently Crawford, when he was talking to Spence 5 years ago, said that that's what he's going to do. And he absolutely did it. So kudos to him. Shout out to him. We'll see what happens in the future. But as of now, that's what we're talking about here. Mystic Mac in the building. New comments. All right. See what you're saying. Based on what Crawford has accomplished, he belongs next to the great names. But when you look closer at the skill sets, the main distinction is Mayweather's punch accuracy is arguably the best of all. Well, I can't say that either, because Crawford, even though he loops his shots, he's very accurate. He hits he hits the target pretty well, and he hits it with whip action. So it's a lot of snap in that shot. He got more power. Remember, he has to generate that power. Floyd more placing. He's more about placing. So it's direct punches. He's not really trying to generate a lot of power, even though Floyd does have power. Shane Mosley said Floyd and Canelo, they have about the same amount of power. So Floyd does have power. He does have snap, but he doesn't really arc the shot to generate that torque. Crawford loops a lot of his shots. So there's a lot of shots is looping to generate that torque, to whip the shot in to generate more power. So Crawford would more likely knock out a guy, whereas Floyd would get their attention, might even hurt a guy. But whether Floyd would stop him, Floyd's a lot faster, sharper than Crawford. So he's a quicker guy than Crawford. You know, quicker in every single way. Foot, hand movement, everything. He's sharper, quicker, has quicker feints and all that. But even so, because Floyd's a smaller guy than Crawford, right? Floyd came up from super featherweight. He's actually a featherweight in the amateurs, and he came up to super featherweight. And then, so Floyd's a smaller guy, so he's going to be quicker than Crawford, obviously. Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to say that, and looking forward. So I hope I answered, what's the guy's name? I don't know what his real name is, but Cam5914. I hope I answered your questions. Much love to you. Anybody also, if you subscribe to my channel, if you're a subscriber or otherwise, I make videos when people sponsor me. So if you sponsor me, I'm going to go in detail in a video explaining whatever you ask me. Okay. I'm only a fan. I'm not like a pro. I'm not a professional person, but I do have some understanding of boxing. If you want it in even more detail, I'll refer you to Troy Killertainment. He also explains things when you donate to his channel. And similarly, if you donate to my channel, I told y'all, I will explain in detail a lot about these things, at least the general idea, the approach. I won't be able to give you the techniques, so don't ask me about techniques. Don't ask me about what they do in the gym to train and all of that. I don't know all of that. I'm not. I mean, I've seen some stuff, but I don't really know. I had to actually go into the gyms and watch them on a daily basis and their routines and all of that. People like maybe Nesta Gibbs and those kinds of guys, they would know a little bit more about this stuff. You know what I mean? That is so crazy. This camera just keeps moving with me. I don't know how that's possible. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. I am what you need. About to get out the building. I hope you guys had a good one. It's an hour, 47 minutes to 21 seconds. We are 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I took almost 2 hours talking about this. You guys can share the video if you want. And you can hear what the professionals in the sport of boxing have to say about my comments. But I do believe that I get support from that. I didn't really, I basically went off of what Derek James was saying, what Mr. McIntyre was saying, and then I was showing you guys what Bud was doing and stuff like that. So I'm going to catch you guys later. Oh, the other thing is Bud was, of course, working on his speed with Shakur, but not only his speed, he was also working on, smart boxing and chess work with Shakur. That's why he brought in Shakur as a sparring partner. I kind of knew that from the get-go. I made a comment somewhere on my channel about that a while back. And the game plan and the strategy that they used to take away Errol Spence or neutralize Errol Spence's jab was something that Shakur actually said a couple times before the fight happened. I think it was like a couple weeks before the fight happened. Shakur had been saying this, so that was what they were working on, and we saw it in the workouts as well. All right, so I'll catch you guys later. I am what you need. Blessings. Peace to you guys.